Executive Director of Garden State Parents for Moral Values, a division of Torah Values Defense Incorporated. Just gave that address. And I want to thank him very much for being in the forefront here in New Jersey to stand up for moral values that are the underpinning of the existence of our society, and for the defense of religious liberty under the threat of those that would ultimately undermine every vestige of the First Amendment with regard to Bible believers. Actually, before I speak, I would like to invite Robert Broadus, who's come here special from Maryland, where we work together. Robert Broadus is running for the United States Senate, but he's also someone that's been in the forefront of defending marriage and taking a very active stand, proactive stand, in stating the truth and not being afraid to do so. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Broadus and encourage everyone to take what he says very much to heart.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, standing with the Orthodox community and with the people of New Jersey. Today is a very, very important day because you have a chance to stop your legislature from doing what you know is wrong, what they know is wrong. A few years ago, it was said that there wasn't enough equality, there wasn't enough protection in the state of New Jersey for homosexual couples. And so the courts basically ordered civil unions to be passed into law. Even though we know the civil unions are a foot in the door, just marriage by another name, the legislature went ahead and legalized civil unions. However, today, we see that civil unions were not enough. The Jews have a saying. They say to God, Dayenu. It would have been enough. It would have been enough if he had stopped when he brought the children of Israel out of the house of bondage, out of the land of Egypt. But he continued to pour out his love. But even though the people of New Jersey were tolerant, the gay community says, Lo ho Dayenu. It's not enough. It's still not enough. It'll never be enough. Once they get same-sex marriage, what will be next? Will they demand reparations? Will they demand to be treated as minority status and get benefits from the federal government, benefits from the state government for small and disadvantaged businesses like other minority groups? We stand and recognize the fact that homosexuality is not genetic. You are not born with it. We know people who have changed. We have people testifying today that you can come out of the same-sex lifestyle. So homosexuality is not erased. It is very important that we recognize the need for every child, if at all possible, to have access and to be raised by their own biological mother and father. I feel sorry for those who will not enjoy the experience that I have had and that others have had of being raised by both a mom and a dad. The homosexuals deny the importance of one or the other gender. Why is homosexuality so objectionable to us? There are three reasons that most people can cite. One is that it goes against our religious beliefs. It goes against the Bible and what our God tells us is right. The second is just that it is unnatural. Humanity knows when something is not right. Something is objectionable. We know it is not right to eat human flesh. We know it is not right to engage in pedophilia or incest. And in the same way, we know it is not right for a man to be with a man or for a woman to be with a woman, and so we stand against it. because our gut tells us so, because our instincts tells us so. And the third reason is that because those who wish to believe that even though they were born a man, that they should be a woman, or that they were born a woman, they should be a man, that they're living in what amounts to a fantasy world. And the legislature cannot legislate fantasy into reality. We believe in what is real. We believe in what is true. And our God tells us what is real and what is true. And in this day and age, it is a shock to me that we would have a president who would stand before the American people and equivocate on this, even though he claims to be a Christian. President Obama, I call on you today to stand with the people of faith. Stop persecuting religion. Stop destroying our religious rights. Stand with the people of faith. Stand with those who believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. And I encourage Governor Christie also to stand with them and to stop the homosexualization of our communities and of our children. I believe that if we send a strong message to the people of New Jersey today, the legislature will hear you and they will cease in their dangerous actions. I pray that God will bless this great state, that God will bless the United States of America, and that marriage will remain forever between one man and one woman for life as God intended. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those words. I just wanted to say one point that there are those that want to make a comparison between the civil rights of the 60s to this civil rights. I just want to say one thing, that in the 60s, during segregation, the blacks were put in back of the bus. I just want to say one point. The fact of today's legislation, if it would pass, it would throw religious leaders not into the back of the bus. It would throw us off the bus. We would not be on the bus at all. That's what this legislation is all about, to make us haters and not to be part of the public square, to quarantine us to our churches and our synagogues. And this is unjust, and this law must not pass. And now we're going to ask Rabbi Leiter to continue on with his words.
Thank you, Robert Bressler, again, and thank you for the work that you did in ensuring that the Lakewood community, the largest Orthodox center in New Jersey, spoke with a clear voice last gubernatorial election, and they put principle over pragmatism, and they made it clear that John Corzine was not a choice, and that Mr. Christie was certainly far better because primarily this issue of morality. And unfortunately, Mr. Christie has fallen short of our expectations in signing the bully bill, which thankfully was declared unconstitutional, of appointing Mr. Harris as a judge for the state Supreme Court, where he will likely promulgate from the bench that which Mr. Christie is opposing in the legislature here today. But in any case, it's important that people understand that the community of Lakewood stood for Mr. Christie because of his positions on moral values when that was the issue in the gubernatorial race a couple of years ago. And I want to thank Robert Bressel also for being in the forefront of fighting this very same legislation last time it came up 2 years ago, mobilizing the Orthodox community against it successfully. I'd like to make just a few humble observations. One of the great Torah sages, quite a number of years ago, had expressed his position on the Jewish, so-called Jewish state. He said it's not that they formed a Jewish, it's not that they trampled Torah, they contravened the Torah in order to form a Jewish state. It's a so-called Jewish state. They formed a so-called Jewish state to trample on the Torah. So I would say, in a similar vein, it's not, when we look into the true essence of the agenda that's being advanced, it's not that people are trampling on religious liberty in order to advance rights, real or imagined, of homosexuals or the homosexual community. It's that so-called homosexual rights and marriage are being advanced in order to defame people of biblical faith. That is the agenda, and I saw this time and time again personally, very clearly. I saw it when I met on January 7th, Raymond Lesniak, a sponsor of this very legislation. In the other building, he was on the top of the stairwell. He bellowed at me in public, "You have no right to do this. You have no right to do this." What was I doing? I was advocating for religious liberty. I was executing my civil obligation to petition government officials. You have no right to do this. That's the attitude of the people that we're dealing with. This is what we are contending with. They are not interested in equality for everybody. We see something akin to this in the statement of no less than former New York State Governor David Patterson, quoted in the Jewish press, I think it was November 10th, 2009, on this very issue when this issue came up in New York State. What did he say about the issue of same-gender marriage? He said that one of the major concerns that he has is that because we believe in the Bible, if somebody, let's say, in the office is getting married to a same-gender partner, we're not going to go to that ceremony. We're going to separate ourselves from that because the Bible tells us to. In other words, the Bible creates divisions between people. That's the problem. It's not just the issue of marriage. It's not just the issue of the rights of certain people. It's the fact that we don't like certain people, or actually I should correct them, we don't like what they do, and we don't countenance it because of what the Bible says. In other words, the problem is the Bible. The problem is sincere believers in the Bible. Yes, in modern day America, increasingly we are dealing with an elitist establishment that is more than happy to allow us freedom of religion as long as we don't really believe in it. As long as we don't act on it as if it's actually objectively true, we're entitled to our freedom of religion. But when we start taking it seriously, then we're in trouble. I'd like to give some other examples of this. How many times have we seen people parading against the very important core Jewish law pertaining to circumcision, bris milah? How many times have we seen activists that want to rip our rights away to perform this very important procedure? How many times have we seen them march in any 4th of July parade, Thanksgiving Day parade, Macy's parade? Perhaps? No, none. Anti-circumcision activists marched at least 6 times in gay pride parades, homosexualist parades. This concept of circumcision is fundamental to Judaism. Circumcision is something which charges Jewish men to rise above their passions, control themselves, become better people. And this is something that activists want to take away from us. Okay, I will answer the question shortly. There are...
Answer it now. And now, answer it. Answer the question.
This tolerance of people that clearly don't care about our religious liberties is something we see in not among the homosexual community as a whole, but among homosexual activists in particular. How are we to entrust our rights with people who exhibit such disregard for our religious liberties, even when they have nothing to gain. And I'd like to close with something else. Another example of how this homosexual agenda is being advanced in opposition to the rights, the basic rights of children. There's a documented case. I have here a report from dailymail.co.uk here. Thomas Lobel, who now calls himself Tammy, is undergoing controversial hormone-blocking treatment in Berkeley, California, to stop him going through puberty as a boy. He is being basically abused by going through a gender change operation because of his lesbian parents. No child in America or anywhere should have to go through a gender change operation. No child should ever have to be submitted to a gender change operation. This is precisely the type of thing that happens when we allow the anarchy of definitions, when we allow gender to be mutilated, so to speak, legislatively and otherwise in our society, that an entire community would tolerate such a travesty against children. Okay, I'd like to please take any questions that the media may have.